Hi guys, so I want to talk to you today about font and about characters and how you can customize them just a little bit to improve how your document looks and how your image and characters and everything looks in your file. And since it is our holiday card season, I wanted to show you this now so you can make sure you're able to use this if you need it. So what we're going to do, we're going to start out by just creating a text layer. And to do this, you can either click and hold and drag, and this will only allow font in this area, or you can just click and it will create a font window. So we're just going to click, and now whatever size our font is, that's the size our cursor will be. So I'm going to go ahead and change this to about 200, just so you can make sure you can see this. And we're going to type holiday. Now, this isn't a black font, so I'm going to just drag this over. I'm going to double click this and we're going to change the font to a yellow, and I'm going to pick a yellow that's in the lights in the background just so you can see it. So we're going to go ahead and click OK, and now you see our holiday font. This font name is From Where You Are, and it is from Kimberly Gush Swan. She has wonderful fonts. I pay $5 each for them, and I can use them commercially. You can purchase them through her website, through PayPal, and pay one at a time. Now, the great thing about her fonts is that once you hit, and her price might change. So once you hit, I think, $199 or $200 in font, you can access all of her fonts for the rest of the time she creates them from now until forever. So double check that price though, because she might change that, but you can pay $5 for commercial fonts and they are fabulous. So let's go ahead and increase the size to 300 just so you can see it a little bit better. Now, while I have this highlighted, you can see that there is space between each letter. We can change that. So what we want to do is we want to go ahead and choose this move tool, and I'm going to go up to Windows and choose Character. This is going to open a character panel. Now, on the character panel, you will see that there is the size, there is color, there is also choice in languages, as well as paragraph settings. So once you get familiar with this toolbar, you'll be using it all the time actually, but a lot of times in Photoshop, one of the major things that gets changed is the font paragraph, and it sometimes gets changed over to the right hand side. So if you notice that your numbers are all switching to the left side, or your exclamation period, all those points, if they're switching over to the left, that is because you have it set here on the right hand paragraph indentation. You want to move it over to the left. Okay, so let's go back and talk about our character again. We can change our font size right here, or we can do that if we double click on our image or on our font, and it'll be all up here. So let's look at our strength here. Now this, if you zoom in on your letters, you will notice the edges. Now this is at a 300, so they are a little jagged, but that's because I'm zoomed in 300%. But if you notice that you have a lot of really jagged edges, you can try to adjust the strength, the strong, crisp, smooth. This helps with that, but I never really change it off of strong. This is the default setting on strong. That's what I leave it at. So I'm going to go ahead and click off, and we're going to talk about the leads of our characters. Okay, now before we go on, I want to double click on our holiday text layer, click that, hit enter, and we're going to just go ahead and type holiday, hit enter, and type holiday again. Now, if you don't have your leading set to auto, this is what it will look like if you have a really large font size. So let's go over and look in our character panel. Your leading section is right here, this section right here. It's set at 150. If it's set to auto, many times it will go ahead, let's highlight that and click auto, and it will add that space between the lines. Now, if that's still too close, all you have to do is click on that, and then you can type, let's go ahead and type in 300 because that's about where it was before. And now I can just scroll up and add even more space between those lines. That is a really good way to do that. So let's go ahead and look at that and move that down here. You have an equal space between every single line. Let's go ahead and click on that again. Let's drag this up here to the corner, double click on that, hit backspace to delete it, and we'll type Happy Holidays, and we'll click enter again and type Happy Holidays, just so we have 2 lines. And let's go ahead and move that to the center of our image. Now, our next thing we want to talk about is tracking. Now, tracking controls the space between the letters of your font. So it would be the H, A, P, everything between that space. So let's go ahead and double click on our font again, just so we make sure it's highlighted. Now your tracking is going to be right here where it has that VA. You can have it set at 0, and that is the default that would come with the font, or you can just simply scroll up and it will add more space between it, or scroll down and it will crunch those letters together. Now, this is where personal preference comes in when creating any kind of text or font document, is you just have to decide what looks best for you. Now, something I didn't mention with deleting, all of these options here have a slider. If you click over top of the leading or the tracking titles and hold, 2 arrows will show up. You can drag to the left or to the right as well. So I didn't mention that before, but that is an option to do. Normally I just click on the lines and use my scrolling mouse to do that selection. Okay, now let's go on and talk about the next option. Okay, now another option that I use in the character menu is the kerning option. Now, if I want to select in my font, let's go ahead and double click. Let's double click that font, and let's look at the A and the Y. This happens a lot with your Q's, your Y's, and letters that have tails on them. There may be a little bit of space between that. Now with your kerning, which is right here with the V and the A with the space between it, it is set to metrics. You can change this if you'd like. I'm not really worried about it. I'm just going to simply click and have where the slider is selected, and you can change the space just between those letters. Now, depending on how the font designer set up the font, it may be a little more difficult to use this, and you might not be able to use it at all depending on how they set those letters up. So keep that in mind, and if there's another way to do that, I don't know how to do that, so this is just how I choose to use it. Okay, let's go ahead and go on to the next step. And that'll be our vertical or horizontal selection. Now this is something you can use a lot as well in getting things to fit in certain areas. Now your horizontal and your vertical are just where you think they are. They're right here with the T that has the vertical arrows and the T that has the horizontal arrow. Let's click on that. I'm going to use my slider, and you can see that it increases the height of all of those letters. And we can drag from the left or to the right and change the width on the horizontal axis of those letters. You can really change how a letter even looks just by using all of these options, either together or separate. Okay, let's go ahead and continue on. Okay, now our last option in the top of our character selection is our baseline shift. Now, just to tell you up front, I have never once used this in any of my documents or composites ever in the entire time of owning Photoshop. But I'm going to go ahead and show you anyways. It's right here, and what this does, it allows you to choose the characters. Let's go ahead and remove this second Happy Holidays just so I can make sure you see this better. It allows you to take the character one at a time and move those up or down in your selection. So let's go ahead and move this one down, and you can just select those one at a time and move those around. Again, I have never once, besides making this video, needed to use this in any document. So that's how you use that baseline shift. And you can also go through, now that we're right here next to our color, and we can change just the individual letters as well. So that's an option for using the color picker here, so you don't have to just go and select each one at a time. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and cancel this so it puts it right back to our first starting point, and then we'll go ahead and go to our next options. Okay, now let's talk about the next section. It has all the little T's in a row, all your little text options in a row. Now, you would want to use these for if the font you're using does not have the true option, the true bolds, the true italics. So this is just an option you can use to help speed up your workflow, because sometimes when a font creator creates a font, they just get kind of lazy at times, or they don't know how to create the bold, or they just don't want to. So anyways, this is where you can do that. All you need to do is select the letter that you're wanting, and then you can just simply click that, and it will bold your T or your H. Your italics right here will give you that italic look. I'm going to take off the bold, and that is how you do your bold and your italics. So then you have the option of, let's select all of our happy. This is all uppercase and this is all lowercase. So let's go ahead and select that. That changes everything to all caps. Let's select off, select the next one, which gives you all lowercase. Now this honestly does not look good with this font to try to make this all lowercase, but it is an option that you can use. So let's go ahead and select our A here, and we'll go ahead and talk about our next options, which is your superscript or your subscript. And all you need to do is click that and it will change that for you and give you those looks. And I think that's really cool. I do like the subscript and the superscript because a lot of fonts do not have those with them. Okay, let's go ahead and click off of that and go on and show you the underline. If I want to underline my font, I just need to select it and choose our underline, and it will add that underline, and this is our strike through. So if you want the strike through, you just choose that last one. Now those are all really awesome things to use that can speed up your workflow, especially if there's a font that doesn't contain those options. Okay, so if you need to change your language, you just do that here. I'm not going to change my language. I'm going to change over to paragraphs, and I talked about that left and right indent. That's really common. I'm going to go ahead and show you this. I'm going to put it on right indent. I'm going to come to the end and type an exclamation point, and as you can see, that changes that to the end. If I type any numbers, it will also start typing from the left hand side. So that is where that is located. I'm going to go ahead and switch back to that left indent, and of course you know how to use a paragraph option. So that is going to be all for this tutorial. It's a very quick overview of how to use the character panel. If you have any questions, just feel free to ask those in the group.